Hello guys, welcome to new video tutorial on Angular. In a last video tutorial, we guys have understand how we can use the attribute directives so called as ngStyle to change the inline style for any HTML components on a certain condition of a TypeScript. Similar like this, we have some inbuilt attribute directives here from the Angular, that is ngClass. What the ngClass exactly do? ngClass directives is an attribute directives which allows us to add or remove the CSS classes, okay, from the HTML element at the dynamic depends on the TypeScript expression or a condition. So if we have some certain expression or a condition there in a TypeScript and we have to change the that div or any element classes, or we have to add or remove some CSS classes, well, with the help of ngClass we guys can able to do it very easily. So let us check with this how the ngClasses will work while adding or removing the elements from the Angular with the CSS classes. So for this, we guys are going to write one application. So here I'm creating a search bar for my HTML elements, and depends on the text box. If the text box is empty, the search button we are going to put it on a disabled, and depends on if the search text is something there right there in the text box, we are going to enable that button by writing the CSS classes. So very first thing what I'm going to do in app.component.html, I'm going to design the component for the search bar. So here I'm writing a div. Okay, inside the div I'm going to write a class as, let us say, which is container fluid bg gradient, and this is bg dark I'm going to write, and some padding also I'm going to give, and I wanted to make the text center and that text white also. Well, in h1, or let us print that in h2 as, okay, ngClass directives example, directive example. So this is like, let us check in the output. So this is how it looks like. Well, here one more div we are going to create, and inside it we are going to create some search text and one button right here. So let us make them create. So to write with this, I am going to write a div, and for this div we are going to provide some custom CSS classes. Let's say this is custom div. Alright, so in this div I'm going to write two elements. One is input type, that is what for text, and I'm going to provide a placeholder here, let us say search products. Alright, or you can write product name, depends on your comfort zone, and I'm going to write a button. Okay, so the type is also the button, and here I'm going to write as search. Well, okay, this is by default, it looks like this. What we guys are needs to do, I have to assign them to the center and some width to this input type, and width and height, and some backgrounds to this search text box. So first I'm going to write a CSS for the custom div. So let us write the CSS for the custom div. So I'm going to open the same component CSS file as I wanted to change the same component CSS. So I'm writing the code into the app.component.css file. So my first thing that I need to do is I have to define that class of custom div, and here I'm going to write some height and width to that. So I'm going to say width, let us say 600 pixels. Okay, height I'm going to assign let us say which is 80 pixels. If you want, we can change it, depends on the runtime. And what I need to do is I have to provide the data into the center. Okay, let's first check how does it looks like. All right, it looks like fine. Well, I have to change the data in center, so using this margin attributes, okay, from bottom and top I have to provide some margin. So let us say from bottom and top I'm going to write 20 pixels, and from left and right to put them in a center I'm going to write auto. So you guys can see this is how it looks like. Well, the next thing that we are going to do is I'm going to add to put that in a center zone, I'm going to add them as display flex, so that they will comes to the center, and this is how the height and width right now is getting appeared. Well, in that case, okay, instead of auto, let us try to put a 0. Okay, 0 is not working good, so let us provide 10 pixels and auto. Okay, now what I need to do is I have to provide that height and widths properly. Let me check. Okay, as this is a display flex, so it is assigning on the same aspects. So I'm going to change that height to the auto, so that depends on the height of that buttons, and this it is going to be get it considered. Well, to identify this, I'm going to write a border, let us say, which is 2 pixels solid black. If you want, we can change it later also. So this is it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some classes to this input type. Okay, let us add the classes to the input type. So here one more class attribute is I'm going to add here class, let us say, that is custom input. Okay, so this class I have to define here. So this is again custom input, and in this class first thing I'm going to do is providing a width. Let's say the width is 400 pixel. Let me check. Yes, width is assigned to 400 pixel. Instead of this, I'm going to put 50, and rest portion I'm going to put it for this search text box. Well, next thing I'm going to do is I have to assign some borders, or what we can say, we are not required the border here. So I'm going to say outline as none. This outline is none right now. Well, next thing we are going to do is to write some what we can say, we are going to write that height and width to this. So let me provide the width. We have already given height, let us say 35 pixels. Okay, so 35 pixels, it's look like this. That's fine to be worked with this. Well, next I'm going to add the CSS to my button, and here I'm going to write a class, let's say custom button. Right, so let us provide a CSS, so custom button, and to this button I'm going to write the width, which is 150 pixels, so that it will pass into the remaining part of the button. So I don't want to provide an outline to this, so again I'm going to say outline none. Right, so there is no any outline for the button right here. And similar like this, I'm going to change the background color of this button to, let us set it to aqua. Okay, so 4 color, you guys can set it here. If you want, you can change it. I'm going to set it to blue. I don't know where it's looking or what. Blue violet. Oh no, it's not looking good. Let us change it, some background colors and all this stuff together. Okay, it is not looking good, so let me add it this background color to the purple, and this is going to white. Okay, that's fine, that's not a problem. Well, I'm going to write some border to this div, so I'm going to put it some negligible border to recognize what is the div we have. Well, what I need to do is, if I'm searching on it, okay, this button needs to be disabled, and if the button is getting disabled, we guys are going to set with their height and widths. Okay, well, to do with that, so one more properties on that button we guys are going to add. Okay, as we have given the height, then width, and also I'm going to say this text align to the center, so that it is pretty good. Yes, that's fine. Okay, and next thing I wanted to do here is, while I'm searching on this button needs to be enabled or disabled, and to make that done, I'm going to use two-way binding. One more variable in the TypeScript file we guys are going to do. So here I'm going to create a variable called as search text, which is of a string, and initially it is null. Well, variable, I'm going to bind it to our this component which we got created, and to make this bind for the two-way binding, you required the forms module to be imported in app.module.ts file. Oh, I have already imported. Well, I'm not going to import that one more time. So in this forms module, what I'm going to do next is adding this HTML to the two-way binding. So I'm going to say this is the first scenario, and this ng model equals to value of this search text, and depends on these values we guys are going to disable and enable this button. And to make that disabled and enabled, okay, let me write here the property binding. So we have to use opening closing square bracket, so that is disabled, and disabled on this search text. So if the search text is there, so it is going to be disabled. So I'm going to change the property to the not. If no search is there, so it is going to be disabled. You guys can see it is not clickable right now, and if I'm writing something, so it is clickable right now. Well, what I need to do, if it is disabled, I have to change their entire CSS, and if it is enabled, I have to keep them with the same. So for disabled, I'm going to write one more CSS here. So I'm going to add common.css, and same class I'm going to be copied, and I'm going to paste it here and just adding hyphen disabled to that. And what I'm going to do next is, if it is disabled, so I'm going to put that background color to the black and fore color to the white. That is fine, that's not a problem. Well, I have to assign whatever this class we guys are going to create. So let me copy this. We require this name. So this class, whatever I got created, this must be applied to this button when it is disabled. And to make that done, we required whatever the class we have given is a normal class, and it applies one or more than one classes, that is at a static time. And to make that dynamic, I have to bind that class with my attribute directives called as ngClass. So how I can able to write with this? So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to say ngClass, and this class I'm going to add. Okay, so I have two different classes right now, and to works with this, we should have to write curly brackets, one class which is called name as custom button. So when this custom button will enable, the custom button will be shown depends on the value of search. If the search text is there, then the custom button will enable. Now let me show you this. So right now the custom button, okay, the button is disabled, and that property of disabled is not applicable. But when we are typing something, so that property of that button will be get appears, and this is how it is changed. Well, the second class which I wanted to write, the name class is I already copied. This is the name class. So let me write it to the new line. So this class will be get apply if there is no any search text. So I'm going to write a condition as not search text. Now let me show you this. So as it is not, you guys can see it is not working fine, and let's say I have to change their cursor also. So in a CSS, I'm going to write that cursor in that disabled property as cursor. Okay, we are going to use no drop. Right, so this is cursor no drop right now. So this is disabled, and when it is enabled, so the cursor will be got changes and it's working fine. Okay, let me show you this in inspect also, how that button classes are going to be changes. So let us check with this. This is the body. All right, so this is our root element, and in this root we have two different views as we got design. This is for input, and this is what for the type button class. So right now as the data is there, so you guys can see the name of class is custom button, and when I remove the data, so you guys can see the class name at a runtime is going to be changes as custom disabled, and this button is also getting disabled. And if I'm start typing on this, you guys can see on a ng model that data will be shown right there, and once it is got printed, so you guys can see here the name of class it changes to the custom button. And this is you guys can add and remove any single classes or any single elements classes using the Angular with respect to that data. Okay, one more changes that I need to do. I'm going to add some paragraph here when that search is going on. So after this div, I'm going to create other with the class, let us say container, and here I'm going to add some paragraph to show that div results. So one more closing is required. Right, so here I'm going to put data like this. Okay, search result for, and that for will becomes in italic, that what is search result, and the searchable result will come from search text as it's two-way binding. So when I'm type right there, it can be shown here also, you guys can see. So this is LeadSoft placement academy. So as the data is there, so it is clickable. So if the data is not there, so it is disabled. And these two classes we have applied using ngClass directives from the attribute directives in Angular. I hope you guys have understood all these concepts together, how to be use ng style and ng classes as the attribute directives. If you guys have understood something, give us the thumbs up, and do like, do share, and do subscribe to our channel.